You emptied the trash before you sold your old laptop. That either bought you almost nothing, or it wiped the thing for good. Of course you did. Everybody does. And which of those two happened wasn't really up to you. It's about what kind of disk was in there and which operating system was driving it. You've heard both stories about deleting a file. One says it's gone. The other says it's still there, and the right tool gets it back. They're both wrong. Not one of them. Both, in opposite directions, which is the bit I like. Your computer didn't delete your file. Not one byte of it. And in that same instant, it destroyed something you're never getting back, which isn't the data. There's a version of this that nearly cost me a production database at 3 in the morning, too, and the fix turned out to be one command, once I understood what I was looking at. Last time I said I'd show you where the deleted file went, so let's go and dig it up. Right, the file name is not the file. That's it. That's the whole episode. Everything else falls out of that one sentence. Picture a cloakroom. The ticket on the hook is your file name. The coat in the numbered locker is your actual data. And the ticket doesn't contain the coat. It's just got a locker number written on it. On Linux, the locker is called an inode. And the inode holds everything about your file. Who owns it, how big it is, when you last touched it, when it was made, who's allowed to read it, and, for nearly every file you own, the list of which blocks on the disk are actually holding your bytes. All of it. One small record. Except the name. The name isn't in there. The name lives out front, on a hook, in the directory, next to a number, which means your file doesn't know what it's called. Never has. Rename it and the file barely notices. One timestamp shifts to record that somebody touched the paperwork, and that's the entire operation. You wrote on the ticket. I've known that for 20 years, and it still strikes me as faintly rude. It also opens a door, because if the name is just a ticket with a number on it, who says there can only be one? Nobody. Nothing stopping you writing that same number on a second ticket, and there's a name for doing it. That's a hard link. 2 file names, 2 different folders if you fancy it, pointing at one locker. Not a copy, the same bytes. Edit through one name and the other one sees it instantly because there was only ever one of them. 2 things you can't do, and they're the 2 everybody tries. You can't hard link across file systems because a locker number means nothing outside its own cloakroom. And you can't hard link a directory. Well, you can't. The kernel does it to itself constantly, which is why an empty folder already has a count of 2, its parent's ticket and one it wrote for itself. You just don't get to, because that's how the attendant ends up walking in a circle forever. Now, tear up one ticket. Go on. Is the coat gone? Of course not. The locker's been keeping a counter this whole time, and that counter answers exactly one question. How many tickets point at me? Tearing one up takes it from 2 down to 1, and while it's above 0, the file lives. Keep hold of that counter, it's about to be half an answer. So what happens when you tear up the last ticket? Counter hits 0, and the attendant does the absolute least he can get away with. He doesn't shred the coat. Shredding's work, and nobody's asking. He peels the number plate off the locker, drops it in the bin marked free, and goes back to his newspaper. Which is where the version you've heard comes from. Your data's still hanging in there, and it only stops existing when somebody else needs that locker, and a different coat gets shoved in on top. That's why undelete tools exist, and how forensics people lift deleted evidence off a drive. And it's true, of Windows, that's FAT and NTFS, which is where basically everyone learned it, and it is not what the machine in front of you does. On ext4, when that counter hits 0, the attendant burns 2 things on his way back to the paper. He wipes the name off the hook. And he burns the index card that said which lockers your coat was hanging in. The coat's still there, nothing left in the building says where. That card is the extent tree, and unlink zeros it. The name goes with it, wiped out of the directory entry, a deliberate security fix from 2021. So on ext4, undelete mostly isn't a thing anymore. What's left is carving. You open every locker in the building looking for something coat-shaped. The tools that still work properly go digging in the journal instead, because the journal is the last place an old copy of that card might be lying around. And on the solid-state drive, it's worse. Or better. Depends whose disk it is, doesn't it? Your operating system tells the drive that locker's free, same second on Windows, next week on a stock Linux box, where it's a scheduled sweep rather than a reaction. Then a cleaner comes down the row and empties the locker for real. On a decent drive, you read it back afterwards and get zeros. On a cheap one, the spec promises you nothing at all. So that laptop you handed over at the start? Coin flip. And a coin flip is a terrible thing to build a plan on. So what works? Encrypt the whole disk from the day you buy it, and the drive is noise. The only secret left is a key you can throw in a river. Or let the drive do it for you. Its own sanitize command destroys that key in about a second. What doesn't work is scrubbing a flash drive with random data, because wear leveling means you can't reach every cell that ever held your data. Shred's own manual page warns you about that right at the top. Read the manuals. They're more honest than the blog posts about them. Which leaves mechanical certainty. The only thing here that's never needed a footnote. That's one counter though. I still owe you the other one, and it's the one that nearly cost me a database. Quick war story. 3 in the morning, disk full alert, production database about to stop writing. And I find it fast. Somebody had deleted a 20 gigabyte log file hours earlier, and the disk was still full. Exactly as full as before they deleted it. File wasn't in the directory listing. DU, which adds up the files it can find, couldn't see it either. And DF, which just asks the file system how much room is left, swore blind the space was gone. When those two disagree, the gap between them is the diagnosis. Something still had the file open, and that's the second counter. There's the link count on disk, 0 by then, and there's a completely separate one the kernel keeps in memory, counting everything still pointing at that inode. Open files, memory maps, a process sitting in that directory. 0 names, one of those, and the locker stays occupied. Invisible to anything walking the directory, very visible to the disk. Restart the process, that handle goes, and the space comes back in the same second, assuming nothing else has it open too, which is a sentence I'll come back to. No reboot, no incident call, nobody else woken up. And there's a version that skips the restart. You find the handle under proc and truncate it in place, which frees the blocks without touching the process at all. That one's got a sting in it, so take the sting with the trick. Truncating doesn't move where the process is writing. If it keeps its own position, it carries straight on, and the size leaps back over the gap. 20 gigabytes on paper, almost nothing on the disk. Looks alarming. It's fine. A proper append mode logger just starts again from nothing. Either way, the real fix is log rotate, or a process you can signal to reopen its log. Everything about that night was invisible except the symptom. That's the part that stayed with me. That's the story. Now let's go and dig up a file that doesn't exist anymore. Goggles on. There's the inode number, that's the locker, then stat, which prints the rest of the card. Owner, size, timestamps, and down here, links, sitting at 1. Make a hard link, run stat again, links, 2. Same inode number under both names. 2 tickets, 1 locker, like I said. Now delete the original and read through the one that's left. Content's fine. You didn't delete a file, you removed a name. And here's the bit I actually want you to see. This is debug FS, reading the raw file system underneath the operating system. That block of numbers there is the extent list, the map. Watch it while I delete the file. Empty. Links 0, block 0, and the map's just gone. The bytes are still out there though, and I can show you that as well. This is a raw scan of the device itself, and there's my text, sitting in a block nobody's claimed yet. Data intact, map destroyed. That's the whole difference between undelete and carving on 2 screens. Last one, the 3 in the morning trick, live. Open a file, delete it while it's open, check the free space. Nothing comes back. Now, list open files with the flag that means show me the ones that have been unlinked. And there it is. The phantom, still on the books. Truncate it through proc, check again. Space restored, and I never touched the running process. And here's the sentence I said I'd come back to. Anything the shell started after you opened that file inherited the handle. So you close it in the shell, and the space stays gone because something downstream is still holding on. That caught me the first time. The open files list will tell you who. Believe the list. So, names are tickets, files are lockers, delete removes tickets. And 2 counters decide when your data actually dies. One on disk, counting names, one in memory, counting open handles. The disk doesn't get its space back until both of them are 0. Your computer isn't lying to you. Not really. It's lazy. And lazy is a design decision. It's why deleting a 20 gigabyte file takes about as long as deleting a tiny one. The work scales with how many pieces the file was in, not how much of it there was. Every strange thing in this episode falls out of that trade. Next time, 2 in the morning, a server I didn't lose, and the bouncer on the door deciding who gets in. Firewalls. Back up your stuff. Today's episode is literally why. Root out.